stage 6 load shedding. Today is day 2. The Democratic Alliance is calling on government now to declare a state of disaster at Eskom. These calls come as the power utility continues to struggle to keep the lights on. As I said, stage 6 load shedding in play until tomorrow morning. The party says Eskom is on the brink of collapse. Let's bring in Ghaleb Cachalia, who is the DA spokesperson on Public Enterprises. He joins us via our video link this morning. Ghaleb, thanks very much indeed for coming on so early this Thursday. We've been saying this for some time, haven't we, that Eskom is on the brink of collapse. What makes this call by the DA different?
Well, let's put it in perspective. This call is not new.
Yeah.
This call was made 6 months ago. And had this call been heeded 6 months ago, we wouldn't be in this position right now, I venture to say. What this call is about is to say, let's ring-fence Eskom and declare a state of disaster, not unlike something we did around COVID, but ring-fenced and different in that we have an independent panel of experts at the helm governing it and providing transparency, much-needed transparency to govern it. And then it's underpinned, if you like, by the National Security Act and by the National Key Points Act, which then empowers this body and the executives within Eskom under the new dispensation to take steps which they could not do, which they were prevented from doing before by red tape, by their hands being tied behind their backs because of political considerations and various other things like labor, preferential procurement, BEE considerations, you name it. And that would then allow them to chart a way forward and to say this is what needs to be done within the shortest frame of time to get this, to fix this mess. That Eskom is without money, and they've been refused money by the Treasury for 19 billion rands of diesel. Now they could go to the markets and to the government and to say, look, under this new conditions, under this transparent situation, under this ring-fence situation, would you undertake to fund X, Y, and Z to get us to LBG? And I think that is the way to go, and that is the only way to go, albeit at the 11th hour. Yeah. Had it been done 6 months ago, it would be different.
Well, as you say, the DA did call on this to be done 6 months ago, and in fact the President in Parliament responded to those calls by the DA. It was in July of this year, while presenting his own response to the energy crisis. President Cyril Ramaphosa essentially said it's not necessary.
Quite, and the President said it's not necessary. When in committee we've presented it to the minister, the response has been similar. And if you paraphrase what's being said, they said no, it's all in hand. Don't worry. Well, it's not all in hand. It's a mess.
So, Ghaleb, what do we do now? I feel like we've been having this discussion around Eskom, and we have for months and months and months. To add to this near total collapse of the grid, we're on day 2 of stage 6 load shedding now. We're also losing Unit 1 at Kuburg for the next few months.
Well, you lose that. I hope they factored that into stage 6. If they haven't factored that into stage 6, well, here comes stage 7 and maybe stage 8. So we have put on the table in terms of the ring-fence state of disaster, we have put together a copious documents and handed it over to government to say what needs to be done in our estimation. We've had no response. We've had a dismissal of what we say in terms of a state of disaster. What do? We sit in a democracy which is governed by the majority party who governs with impunity at our expense. And we have 2 years away from an election, or 1.5 years away from an election. But we have a crisis right now which may turn the lights out.
Yeah. The DA statement also goes further to talk about the fact that we should be treating our energy crisis as a national security issue, as a matter of national security. That's not overstating the issue, right? Our unemployment rate is already among the highest in the world. Inequality is certainly the worst in the world here in South Africa. it's not overstating it to say that national security is at risk given the current state of our energy grid.
Well, how do you run anything? How do you run anything without electricity? You can run the government buildings and the ministers' lofty palaces with diesel, which is purchased at our expense. But other than that, you can't run anything that requires huge amounts of energy. Defense mechanisms and the like will all grind to a standstill. Mm-hmm. Now, if you can't do that and you can't pay for that, then say that is not an issue of national security, then I don't quite know what you're smoking.
We always talk about the cost to the economy. We had our GDP figures for the third quarter of the year just released earlier this week. It was 1.6%. Our business desk will give me the right figure. Much higher or a little higher than we had expected. We're expecting around 0.7% in growth, but still a paltry 1.6%, hardly anything to celebrate. We talk about the cost of load shedding at 500 million rand per stage per day. So as we speak, we're losing 3 billion rand to the GDP with stage 6 load shedding.
Absolutely. It's absolutely shocking that these figures have to be trotted out as they rise every time we trot them out. And the government sits on its hands. You're speaking to me at the moment. Have you spoken to Praveen Gordhan? He's been utterly silent. He's had 4 years at the helm at Eskom to deal with this mess. In those 4 years, it has got immeasurably worse. Now, he needs to answer as the stakeholders, as the shareholders' sole representative of Eskom. Where is he? I'm his shadow. I'm there to prod him, but I can't prod a ghost.
Well, Public Enterprises Minister Praveen Gordhan, it's a very good point. If you are listening to this, we'd love to speak to you here on the AM Report. For now, Ghaleb Cachalia, let me thank you for your time this morning.